Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep, put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Sing a song. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Sing a song before they burn it down.
Greetings, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. In my career, from the battlefield to Congress, honor and integrity have always been my compass. When it comes to building a precious metals portfolio for my family, I choose United Patriot Corn. Their commitment to honesty and transparency aligns with everything I stand for. They care about our great country and focus on serving patriots from all walks of life. They've teamed up with veterans of the precious metals market to create a new kind of gold dealer designed to serve the needs of a new type of gold buyer. And that's why I know I can trust them when it comes time to buy my gold and silver. If you value honesty and reliability as I do, then join me. Hey, greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. As you know, we have been highlighting many candidates because we have a primary season coming up here in the state of Texas. As a matter of fact, our early voting will be starting on the 20th of February, running to the 1st of March. And then Super Tuesday will be here in Texas on Tuesday, the 5th of March. And one of the individuals that we were interested in talking to is a candidate for Texas House District 85. That's Tim Greeson. Tim Greeson is a native Texan. He graduated from Texas A&M University. Whoop, with a bachelor's degree in engineering and later obtained his professional engineering license. He has worked in various industries as a structural engineer and naval architect, including oil and gas, maritime, and forensic engineering. In 2016, Tim opened his own engineering firm, and to date, he says his greatest professional achievement has been his work with the Battleship Texas Foundation, restoring the historical Battleship Texas, which is located right there at the San Jacinto battlefield. If you're ever visiting Texas, you need to go down there and see the San Jacinto battlefield and see the USS Texas. Tim, thank you so much for joining us here at the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Well, you know, one of the things that I read about here is that you were born with a neuromuscular disease, but you overcame that, and that tells me a lot about your character. Talk to us about fighting through that neuromuscular disease.
Yes, sir. I have a disease called a congenital myasthenic syndrome. It means born with and a grave muscle weakness. So it makes me physically weaker with less endurance. You can't tell the day that I have it unless we try to go out and run a mile or do a bunch of push-ups. But when I was a teenager, I was in a wheelchair. I would use a wheelchair to get from classroom to classroom, and I couldn't walk that far. I could always walk a little bit, but they thought there was a version of my disease that would turn terminal if you worked out. And so I was always told by the doctors, don't work out, don't try to push yourself, just live with what you got. And I was told that I would never be able to be a firefighter. I'd never be able to fly an airplane. I'd never even be able to walk around Walmart again, that I would have to always use a wheelchair for something like that far. So I made that a personal checklist. And when I got to college at A&M, as you know, A&M is not small. It was about a little under a mile from my dorm room to the engineering side of campus. And I had a scooter instead of a wheelchair. My disease in my arms too, and I couldn't push myself that far without getting fatigued. That scooter was not designed properly, and it wound up breaking. I borrowed one from the school, and it didn't work. I borrowed one from my great-grandfather at the time over in Austin. I drove over, got it, brought it back. It didn't work. Finally, my dad brought one, and so I had 4 scooters in my dorm room, and my roommate, who was not particularly religious at the time, just looked at me and said, "Hey, Tim, I think God might be trying to tell you something." And so I got up and started walking, and I sat on every single bench from my dorm room to the engineering side of campus. And the second week, I built up enough muscle to sit on every other bench. Third week, I sat on every third bench. By the seventh week, I was walking all the way across without having to sit down, and I haven't used one since then. And I walk around Walmart all the time when I need to go shopping with the family. I've been a volunteer firefighter EMT for more than a decade. And although I haven't gotten my pilot's license, I've made sure to go fly a little Cessna a couple times just to check it off the list.
Well, I want to tell you that your drive and determination, and I wanted to make sure that people got an opportunity to hear that story, because to me, that tells me a lot about the measure of who you are and your character. And you're the right type of person, I feel, that is going to represent the people in State House District very well. So let's talk about how you have this, successful business. You've been working as a professional engineer, and now you've made the decision to step into the morass, if I can say that, of politics and serving the people
Yes.
there in your House district. First of all, tell us, where are the geographical boundaries, the area for House District 85?
Yes, sir. It's 5 counties and part of Fort Bend. So it's Waller, Austin, Colorado, Fayette, and Wharton counties. And then a small part of Fort Bend County. It comes up through southern Fort Bend County. It grabs parts of Needville, all of Thompson's. There's Brazos Bend State Park is completely within our district, and it grabs the southern part of Sugar Land.
So,
And
so you're talking about west of Houston and kind
yes,
of,
sir.
yeah, west of Houston.
If you're driving from Houston to Austin, you're going to spend about half your time in our district on I-10 and 77.
Very well. And also, one of the things, you've got a great amount of Texas history that is there in that district.
We do.
Tell
We
us
do.
about
San
tell us
Felipe de
about the
Austin
Texas.
is
Yeah,
right here.
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. San Felipe de Austin is here, and the Austin. I live in Austin County, where San Felipe de Austin is, and I was actually talking to our county clerk the other day, and she was telling me we have documents in the county courthouse at the county clerk's office that date back to 1810. They have a whole section of colonial pre Texas as a nation documents. They have a bunch of documents from when Texas was its own nation, and then obviously a bunch since then. They have documents signed by Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston, William B. Travis. Travis was a lawyer and actually did some legal practice in San Felipe de Austin for a little while before he went over to the Alamo. So they have several documents he signed here in Austin County. We have the San Felipe de Austin Museum, which is fantastic. If you're driving from Austin to Houston or Houston to San Antonio, highly recommend plan yourself an extra couple of hours, stop by and check it out. It's a great museum.
And San Felipe de Austin was also the place where Stephen F. Austin, San Felipe, called for the founding of the very first 10 Texas Rangers, if I'm correct.
He did, yes, sir.
Yep. And
Yes,
you
sir.
got Washington on the Brazos also in House District 85, which Texas is the only state with its own Declaration of Independence.
Yes, sir.
Great. So you're a keeper of Texas history in being
Yes, sir.
the representative of House District 85. So what
Yes,
drove
sir.
you to make that decision to run for this House district?
Well, I am a true conservative, a believer in conservative values. And when I woke up and saw that Ken Paxton had been impeached, I said, what in the world is going on here? We have the most conservative attorney general in the nation. We didn't hire him to be our pastor. We hired him to fight the Biden administration, and he's been doing a fantastic job with that. And then I looked up and found that our representative had impeached him. And so I messaged him and said, what are you thinking? We're not willing to accept anything from them, but there was no evidence. There was no sworn testimony presented. There was no, I'm sorry, Alan. Let me put this on Do Not Disturb. Someone just messed up the,
No problem.
I apologize for that. Did it interrupt the? Stop.
No, you're good.
Sorry, I'm on
We'll
my
edit it.
iPad and it's connected to some people are trying to call me, and I thought I had it on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, we'll
So,
edit it. Continue on.
um, okay, yeah. So we woke up and found that Kim Paxton had been impeached, and just said, "Man, what in the world is going on here?" After that, I started looking more and more into his record, and I used a tool called grassrootspriorities.com, and I highly recommend people go there. I know you had Joanne Fleming on your show a few shows ago. She helps run that website. She sponsors that website through Grassroots America. And if you look, we have one of the most conservative districts. We are a very, very rural, agriculture-heavy, small-town district. And we should have one of the most conservative people in Austin. Instead, we have one of the most liberal Republicans in Austin. He voted to spend taxpayer money on socially transitioning children, Amendment number 1 of House Bill 1898. He votes with lobbyists around 80% of the time. That's about double what other conservatives tend to vote with paid lobbyists, by the way. He votes against Republicans around 25% of the time. He votes again with Democrats against the most conservative Republicans, 1 in every 4 contested votes. We are at desperate times in Texas. We cannot have conservatives that are joining with the Democrats all the time. We have to stand up for our principles and our values. You know, one thing I think we've learned from Governor DeSantis, I'm a big Trump supporter, but Governor DeSantis has been the best governor in the nation for the last 6 or 7 years. When he won, if you remember, he barely won his first election.
Oh, I remember.
And the conventional wisdom, yes, sir. And the conventional wisdom is, hey, if you're a Republican, win and then go to the middle, right? Don't do conservative things. Do middle of the road at the best. Well, Governor DeSantis bucked that trend. He won and then did what the Democrats do, which is actually implement the policies that we believe in. And now look at Florida. Yeah. It's not even a purple state. It's not even close.
Yeah.
And man, we have this reputation in Texas of being extremely conservative. And I think all of us real conservatives know it's hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
Now is not the time for mediocrity. Now is not the time for middle of the road. Now is the time to stand up for our conservative principles, go to Austin and actually get real change. Why did it take 3 or 4 sessions to get constitutional carry? Why was it such a hassle to get medical transitioning of children to be banned? You know, that bill was difficult to get passed. And that's not even a conservative or Democrat thing. Most Democrats I know don't want to be medically transitioning children. And I'm just tired. We are in desperate times. We need regular people to stand up and run and take positions in government, because the career politicians, the government workers, they are not going to save us.
You know, one of the things that my dad taught me growing up back in Georgia, Tim, was that the only thing in the middle of the road is roadkill. So you're running and challenging an incumbent. Yeah, you're
Yes,
running
sir.
and challenging an incumbent. So what are the legislative priorities that you have that differentiate you from, I think it's State Representative Kitzman?
Yes, sir, that's correct. For starters, we've got to secure the border. We need to secure the border from El Paso to Brownsville. That's the number one most emergent thing that we have going on. Everybody recognizes that's a problem, even Democrats in our state. The difference is that they spent a lot more on corporate welfare in the budget than they did actually securing the border. They spent enough to secure the border to send out a bunch of mailers saying, look what we did. And now Governor Abbott, I completely support what he's doing in the region of Eagle Pass. My question is, why now? We've had this problem for years. We could have done this 2 or 3 years ago, and it should have been done 2 or 3 years ago. It's a little conspicuous that we're doing this right before a primary election. Also, these guys love to beat their chest about the recent border bill that was passed. Well, it wasn't nearly as good as House Bill 20. I wish we had done that one instead, but it was killed by a point of order from a Democrat parliamentarian appointed by Dade Feeling. I'm glad we have the border bill that we got out of the last special session, or the second to last, but it's not nearly enough. It's just a start.
Yeah.
And I just can't help but wonder how many lives would have been saved if we had been focusing on securing the border instead of impeaching Ken Paxton. And that bill, by the way, is, as of today, still not implemented. It's signed, but it doesn't go into effect until March 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a priority for them that they wanted to delay it until the day before the primary vote. I think that should tell everybody what their real priorities are. In addition to that, we've got to secure our elections. We've got to give the Attorney General the permission to investigate election fraud in these Democrat cities. As someone who lives west of Houston, what goes on in Houston does affect us. However, if Democrats want to cheat, that's kind of their problem. I don't really care. The problem comes in statewide races, in regional races. We have a couple of judges that are on the ballot, where Austin County is lumped in with Harris County, where Waller County is lumped in with Harris County. If they cheat in Harris County, that takes away votes from people in our district.
Yeah.
And the Soros-funded Democrat DA of Harris County is not going to investigate any election fraud in Harris County whatsoever.
Let me just explain to the audience what Tim is talking about. Recently, the Criminal Court of Appeals 8-1 decision stripped away the ability of the Attorney General in Texas to prosecute voter fraud cases here in Texas. And of course, when you look at the biggest proponency for election irregularities, they are in the large major urban population centers, which are all controlled by leftist Democrats. And of course, many with Soros-appointed district attorneys, for instance, where I live here in Dallas County. So I just wanted to explain that to the audience. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to stop the transitioning of children. So we voted. They have now banned medical transitioning, which is where they cut things off and they give drug therapies and hormones to children. However, it is still perfectly legal in Texas for you to take a child to a licensed professional counselor. And that counselor can tell that little boy or girl that they can be the opposite sex. That, to me, is encouraging mental illness, not treating it. Mm-hmm. And I stand against the entire transgender movement. I compare it to anorexia. The problem with anorexia is that the brain doesn't match the body. And if you show up to a hospital as an anorexic person and say, I want lap band surgery, the answer is no. That's going to harm you, not help you. And that's true whether you're 12, 16, 30, or 50. It doesn't change whether you're a minor or an adult. Similarly, if you show up to a hospital and say, I'd like to learn, if you're anorexic and you say, I'd like to learn how to eat fewer calories. Again, the answer is no. You should be put in mental health counseling to help rectify the reality of your body with your brain. And that's the way gender dysphoria should be treated, whether they're adults or children. And we've done just scratching the surface of that, is stopping the medical transitioning of children. Next, we need to stop the social transitioning of children, and then we need to stop transitioning of adults as well. You see, it should not be illegal to be transgender, just like it's not illegal to be anorexic, but there should be a minimum medical standard of care recognizing the mental illness for what it is.
Yeah, I forget the member of the Texas State House. He's a medical doctor that said, we don't treat a mental illness with a frontal lobotomy. And so, again, when you look at what is happening with this gender dysphoria, it is a mental condition. And what we're doing is we're treating it with very radical surgical procedures. And you're right, our children should not be subjected to that. But you have this medical industrial complex that's making a lot of money off of it.
That's 100% right. These people are confused. They need, they need to be loved and cared for and helped, not further harmed. If you're schizophrenic, you don't show up to the counselor and the counselor says, "Oh yes, I hear all the voices." Yeah. Right? That doesn't help. And people who are in that state need help. not encouragement to go further into their mental illness.
So, we're getting down to crunch time. Early voting is about to start
Yes,
here
sir.
in Texas in this primary. What's your focus going into early voting? What do you think will help you in getting people to rally to your side and to your cause? Because I think it's about getting people out to vote. So, how do you push getting people out to vote and voting for you, Tim?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So obviously we're doing social media. We're doing multiple events every day. We're knocking on doors every single day. We have a big letter writing campaign going on with my campaign. We've contacted around 7,000 voters through letters. As you know, I don't take money from lobbyists, so I haven't sent a single mailer. Um, and it's we're being buried in mailers right now.
Yeah.
But lobbyists, money, and mailers, they aren't votes.
Yeah.
What we are asking our supporters to do is to call their friends, call their neighbors. When we talk, we still have several candidate forums to go, even though early voting is starting very soon. And when I talk, I tell people, listen, I don't need you to take a yard sign. I need you to take 10, put one in your yard, give the other 9 out to other friends of yours. We need to learn from the Democrats. We don't want to emulate everything they do. We certainly don't want to do illegal things. However, they bank their vote. And that's one thing we're really stressing to Republicans. I would love to do away with early voting if I could. However, it's here today. That's the rules of the game today. So banking your vote is where you go vote during the early voting process, and then you contact your friends, you contact your neighbors, you hound them until they vote. And then on election day, you volunteer for a campaign, you go to a polling location, you speak for us, you carpool people to the polls, you help get the vote out yourself. I ask people all the time in these forums, how many of you want the big money out of politics? Every single person raises their hands.
Yeah.
And I say, well, there's only one way to do that. One is all of you need to pull out a checkbook and write me a $5,000 check right now, which I highly doubt I couldn't even do. I highly doubt everybody in the room can. The other way is we can outwork them, and that's what we're doing.
Good.
And it takes more than just me. It's a whole movement. It's a grassroots movement that's taking shape.
I've got one question for you on the election integrity issue. Would you
Yes, sir.
support closing the primaries that we have here in the state of Texas?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I don't know why. I guess it made sense at a certain time period, but I support closing the elections today. In the past, Republicans and Democrats had similar values and similar goals and just had different ideas of getting there. And so you saw a lot of people who would vote in one versus the other. Today, we're really two different nations. We're trying to bring back individual freedoms and liberties. The Democrats are trying to mutilate children. And we've got to stop them from voting in our primaries. I know for sure there is one county in ours in particular where my opponent is really targeting Democrats, and Democrats are planning to cross over and vote in the Republican primary. These people have absolutely no intention of voting for us during the November election, but they're going to cross over and vote to try to keep the liberal in the office.
Yeah. They shouldn't be picking our team members. Last question, Tim, before I let
Yes,
you
sir.
go, and this is what I do with everyone. I want you to talk to the audience of the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. I want you to explain to them in a couple of minutes, maybe 3 minutes tops, why is your race as a challenger to the incumbent in Texas State House District 85 important to them? People from outside of your district, people from outside the state of Texas. Why does it matter to them?
Yes, sir. Well, if we lose Texas, we're going to lose the nation. We have got to save Texas, and the state house is the number one thing in Texas that is holding back our true conservative potential. The Speaker of the House kills a ton of conservative legislation. The other liberal Republicans, the rhinos, they see to it that true conservative legislation either is slow walked or doesn't make it to the floor at all. And we've got to have a strong Texas in order to have a shot at having a strong America. Again, you see that in our attorney general. The fights that our attorney general wins against the Biden administration, that affects the entire nation, not just Texas. And the border in particular, we've got to secure the border. These people coming in, a lot of them, unfortunately, stay here in Texas. However, a lot of illegal aliens go up into the rest of the nation. So we've got to get our border secured. We've got to show the blueprint for how to do that. That way, the other southern border states and northern border states, by the way, there's a lot of illegal aliens coming across the northern border today as well. If we can show how to seal that border and how to expel illegal aliens, that will be a blueprint for our nation, and we can really turn it around. I know it feels like we are losing Texas because we are. It feels like we are losing our nation because we are. I'm not willing to just let it go. I've got 2 small children. I want them to grow up more free than me, not less free. They currently are not as free as I was growing up, and they're certainly not on a trajectory to increase that. We've got to turn that around. What we've seen in the great American experiment, the great Texas experiment, is individual liberty, individual freedom is the key to economic and social prosperity. We want, I've worked all over the world in oil and gas, and what I've found is everybody around the world is very, very similar. We want to love our family. We want our kids to grow up and be more successful than we are. We want them to stand on our shoulders. And that means in the U.S. here that we have the absolute best opportunity for that. But that starts with freedom. Yeah. And we've got to preserve that. We've got to preserve our way of life. And it starts here in Texas, in House District 85.
Well, Tim Greeson, I want to thank you so very much for being with us here at Steadfast and Loyal Podcast. You know, Joanne Fleming with Grassroots America, We the People, has endorsed you, and you have the Colonel
Yes,
Allen
sir.
West Steadfast and Loyal endorsement. And I'd just like for you
Thank
to
you,
share
sir.
with, you earned it, you know, your drive and determination. I mean, that is a great story. I would like for you to share with the audience how they can support you, your website.
Yes, sir. My website is www.tim4texas.com. That's 4 with a number. We're also on Facebook. We do a little bit on Twitter. We're mostly on Facebook because that's where the people are. My cell phone is 281-352-4638. I think everybody in the district should have that. And even outside, feel free to call or text. I actually answer it. It's not my assistant. That's my cell phone. And we'd love to hear from you. www.tim4texas.com. My job is to be a representative. I'm in very good touch with our district, but it still helps to hear from people within our district every single day.
Boy, I tell you what, that, ladies and gentlemen, is courage to publicly put your cell phone number out there. And let me tell you something. If anybody sends Tim Greeson a crank call or a threatening call, you will have to deal with me, because he showed the courage to put out his cell phone number on this podcast. So God bless you, Tim. Thank you so very much. And go out there and gig them, Aggie. Gig them, okay?
Yes, sir. Gig them. Yes,
All
sir.
right. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Steadfast and Loyal Podcast. Go out there and learn more about Tim Greeson. If you did enjoy this episode, please click the like button and share it with others. And until next time, steadfast and loyal.
Before they burn it down.